Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ready Set Pop. My name is Mariel Bosori, greeting you from Mexico City, and I'm here joined by my two co-hosts, Mauricio Sierra from Colombia and Luquita Zabate from Brazil. And today we have a special guest all the way from Chicago. We have Dallas, who happens to be a friend of Mao, and who's here to talk about Stacie Orrico's second unreleased album, Say It Again. So, um, Mao, you chose this topic, so let us know why you chose it. I mean, everyone knows here that we are obsessed with Stacie Orrico, but
Yes.
it's another episode dedicated to her, and why not? So, Mao, please give us an intro to this episode.
Oh, thank you, Mariel. Well, and the audience know that today we had like an inconvenience with our guest. So Dallas is here saving us because this was like my idea for the next episode. Like I was talking with you about this, like, oh, I want to have another episode dedicated to Stacie Rico. And I
Mhm.
think maybe this is an album that not everybody knows about. So I think, well, oh, it's a perfect opportunity to ask Dallas to join us. So Dallas is an expert talking about the Stacie Rico. I learned a lot from him, to be honest. And I had the pleasure and the opportunity to have him in an interview during the celebration that I did the last year because of the 20th anniversary of the Stacie Rico album. So I all the time I'm learning a lot from him because he's from US, and we live in a different countries in Latin America. So for us was different, but he was like a witness living all this Stacie Rico moment since the time she released Genuine, and then with this album. And I know, a lot of doubts about this album because it's like a mystery sometimes for us, because this kind of unreleased album or lost albums create this kind of questions. So welcome, Dallas. Thank you for accepting this invite. Thank you for being here with us, and let us know a little about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for inviting me. It's a pleasure to kind of speak on, of course, our favorite artist, Stacie Rico, but also expand a little bit more on the history of this quote unquote lost album. There is so much mystery behind it, but having lived that previous experience, I definitely have more context to kind of fill in the gap. So happy to address any questions or just even talk tracks. For me, I've been a Stacey Rico fan at a very young age. So when she first came out back in 2000, and then pretty much was at an obsessive state where I was constantly on the computer within other chat rooms and just discussing everything Stacey. And again, with that, with record producers or writers or even dancers that would come in and chat and that would share information. So although those forms don't longer exist, I at least have that retention at least up here. I wish I had screenshots from back then that will at least help back them up, but I at least have a little bit more information on hand. I would say say it again before we kind of go into that, I guess some context before what led up to the sophomore album. Before we do that, does anyone maybe to share any experiences or what their thoughts are on Say It Again in regards to what you might have heard?
Oh, well, it's for me was like a mystery because I knew about Stacie Rico from the time that, oh, Dallas, are you there?
It's a blackout. Blackout is from another singer, Britney Spears.
Yeah.
He's coming back, I think. Maybe it's
It's
the
coming
internet.
back.
Yeah, I sense some like with his
Oh, okay.
with
The
his audio,
connection.
so maybe he
Yes,
has
maybe
something
that's
with
the
his
reason.
connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a
huh,
problem.
no,
That happens.
no.
That used to happen a lot with
Yeah,
us.
Yes, yes.
yeah,
In the past, we deal a lot with this kind of
I
stuff,
know.
technical stuff.
Even in my live interviews too, and I was interviewing, and all of a sudden I disappeared, and I left my guests there. It's so embarrassing. So
Yeah. And
How was? Go ahead, friend.
no, go ahead, you, please.
No, I want to ask Mariel about the interview with Daphne and
Celeste.
Destiny. There's a list. Definitely understand.
It was great. It was great. I hope the ones watching this can check out my channel, Mariel Talks Pop. Um, I talked with them like for an hour and a half, and it was really fun. So check it out. Okay, there he is. There he is.
He's
Okay.
back. He's back.
Someone had called on my phone and immediately like took everything out. So
No,
I,
don't
Oh,
worry.
No, don't worry. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you were about to say something, Mao.
Oh yes, I was telling you that it for me was like very like a mystery and very weird back in the day because I knew about the Stacie Orrico because of a stock, and in that moment I was like so obsessed, so trying to get more information about it. And I when the first CD I had was like a burned CD, was not an original CD, so I download the songs from the Stacie Orrico, but I noticed that some songs were different.
Mhm.
So I was like, why this happening? So then, in that time, it was not so easy like today to find some information. So I knew that she released this album, but it was like a mystery. So that's the reason that I was so more obsessed about it. Like wanted to know everything about it. So then I discovered that it was like an unreleased album when she was trying to make the crossover from Christian to mainstream. So I was like, oh, okay, okay. So it was like always something that I want to know more about it.
Yeah, well, I should say, kind of even going into the album, what kind of led up to it is, of course, at the height of Genuine, she had so much success. She was all over radio, at least here in the US. Christian radio, Christian music video station. And then with her also going on tour with Destiny's Child in 2001, most folks don't even know that, or if they're aware of that, they don't know that Destiny's Child, they were heavily influenced, but also listened to a lot of gospel music.
Yeah.
And one of the albums that they very much enjoyed. So there was no doubt that when they were going to go on tour, they decided to handpick her, along with a couple other folks as well. But also had a good grasp and help cultivating her own musical identity. But that also influenced how she her own vocal technique. I believe a while back when she was touring, she kept talking about breath control and how she got that from the girls, and you can even see that now today when she sings.
Yeah.
But I did pull from one of the magazine articles while she was promoting her Christmas Wish album. Folks were then asking about her next album, her sophomore album. What were we to expect? What style was she going after? And what I pulled here, and I'll just read a bit of the tidbit. She wrote that, or she was asked that with the whirlwind of her debut album, what this sophomore project would look like. At the time, during an interview, it was slated for February of 2002. And she basically specified how she wanted to break down or shift away from the pop comparisons of both Britney and Christina, and wanted to create a more R&B forward music singability and album. She, quote, I don't want to do Don't Look at Me Again, not because I didn't like it. I love the song, but people don't want to hear it twice. Orrico says, I'm not even a big fan of pop music. The music on the next record is going to be R&B, but it won't be a departure that I'll lose fans. That kind of initiated those conversations to kind of get folks excited. I remember as fans, at least for us, a lot of us picked on the heavy R&B and gospel influences on the first album, and I think that we understood that that was a route that she was going to go into, especially here in the US. From 2000 all the way up until 2004, R&B and hip hop was just heavy on the radio. So we knew point that was going to be a reflection. Even Christian radio at the time was starting to expand more, that there was so much R&B and hip hop music that they started having their own radio stations and their own music programming on television. So it seemed fair that, okay, well, we don't really have that quote unquote R&B it girl within Christian music. And I think Stacie was filling the gap of both pop and R&B. And you can kind of hear that in Genuine as well. There was a little bit of Aaliyah influence, some Christina. There was quite a bit of mashup there. And then she also mentioned here that while working on the new album, she was working with producer Mookie Taylor. So for anyone that doesn't know, Mookie within the Christian music realm was essentially the heavy hitter that created all the R&B and hip hop music. So he was basically like the Dark Child or the Timbaland of the
Timberland.
music. And I believe he did maybe 2 or 3 songs on Genuine, but he had a heavy hand. And this also mentions that she would be working with producer Michael, who also mentioned that he worked heavily with Beyonce. And that goes into further explanation that Beyonce, along with Destiny's Child, agreed to produce this album, and that Solange, the younger sister, would also have a duet with Stacie. So I know that got us excited.
Mhm.
This was one of my questions. It was true that she was planning to make a duet with Solange in the Say It Again album.
Absolutely. So the Knowles family had a heavy hand in regards to her then sophomore album, and then also the transition. Most folks don't know that Matthew Knowles was, I believe, became one of her managers by her album. He helped with her solidifying a mainstream contract with Virgin. So
Okay.
what I wished at the time is that we actually did get a Solange duet. I thought that probably would have been really cool and would have
Yeah, of course.
um,
There was another duet on the plans with Out of Eden. It was true too, or no? It was just a rumor.
yeah, because Out of Eden was very heavy with R&B. They had, I think, released 2 albums prior. There was a couple other artists that we were all hoping that we could collaborate with. I think at the time, Grits was very popular, which was a rap duo.
Yes.
We even thought maybe Rachel Lampo, if they were do something together. Rachel
Of
even
course.
at that time released a remix album, which was heavily urban leaning, which is definitely a departure from her sound as well. So we thought at some point it could have been a good matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Destiny's Child launch probably would have been a fire duet. Probably also would have been a great crossover. I believe Solange released one of her albums around that same time. Um, and then basically the talks in regards to the next album. Again, at that point, there wasn't a title made. You just knew that there was going to be a specific stuff. What then kind of happened around, again, this was around Christmas time. We kind of heard nothing maybe for like a good month. And then all of a sudden, February comes around and we hear that, okay, the album's going to drop in April 9th, 2002, and that a single should be. And for me, I remember February, it was in February, I went with my cousins to go see movies, so we were in a car, and the Christian radio was like, "Here's an exclusive from Stacie Orrico, her next album. It's called Bounce Back." And as soon as I'm trying to remember like the
intro.
And yeah, we all got so excited, and I remember how we had everyone be super quiet so that we can hear everything. Our uncle had and I remember us just freaking out once when she got to like the bridge when it was the bounce part. We were just like freaking out and thinking how amazing that was. Again, even that song, you just didn't hear that on the radio. No one was playing that. So that was very. And actually, to kind of go off of Bounce Back, and of course, if you guys have questions, please stop. But yeah, Bounce Back was the first radio single, which was released to the ACCHR radio for ads on February 8th. And then this would then begin the promotion of the album. I believe they were hoping to do a 40 city worldwide tour in May. Of course, that was canceled. And then grassroots marketing. We were started getting, and grassroots in regards to the fans being the push for marketing. And I remember briefly getting like these card stuff of the album coming soon, get more information or gifts, if you will, so that we can promote the album. But again, that are pretty much cut short, I want to say, by March. So it was a very quick high of a release of a song, brand new song, Stacie, and silence and everything pulled. But before I get into that, does anyone maybe have questions
Uh, well,
I saw, I saw. Hold on, hold on. It was my bad, my bad. I clicked something. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
Okay.
don't worry. Okay, I
Actually,
want
I
to.
have a question, but I think
Yes.
ahead of time with the story, so I'm gonna keep it this way. I'm gonna wait because I
Okay.
want to know if there was a time that they made some announcement that the album was off in the website or something like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I'll definitely get to that. Does anyone else have questions, or can I jump right into that?
Yes. No. I have a question about it. When you listen, "Bounce Back" on the radio, it was so different for you, like in comparison to "Genuine" or even "Don't Look at Me," that was the first like massive hit in the Christian radios. It was so different for you. Like, oh, this sounds more R&B kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think when we first heard "Bounce Back," by 2002, Genuine already sounded outdated. Although it came out in 2000, it was very 1998. I always compared it to, or I always envisioned hearing the album on. Do you guys know the film So You Think You Can? Oh wait, not Save the Last Dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that album, like some of the songs, would have fit on that movie soundtrack or something. It just
Okay.
it dated within a 2 year span. So by the time Bounce Back came out, and we're like, oh wow, okay, so this is definitely going to have a higher production value to it. It's very sleek, very pop. Still has an R&B tinge and a little bit more deep. So very completely different from Genuine. So I think a lot of us were quite excited, but we were
Mhm.
also ready to hear more of like the R&B sound to it as well.
Yeah.
For you, for example, "Genuine" is an album that is like bubblegum pop in a way, or is more R&B for you? Like, how do you perceive the sound?
Yeah, I think it starts between holding a good balance because I feel like there's also that album is pretty long. It's a good chunk album, which I very much love. The one thing I will say about Say It Again is when we got the track listing, we were disappointed how short it was.
Yes,
Mhm.
10 songs. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think Genuine did a good job of playing for its pop R&B. Again, as I mentioned, it was a bit of Britney, Christina, Maya. It was
Maya. Yeah.
yeah, had some gospel elements too. Some of it even sounded like Babyface, if Babyface
Mm-hmm.
wrote some of the songs. So I think
Yeah.
it's uh, a good balance, but it was definitely labeled as a pop album. I think for us, we were expecting more of a urban leaning, thinking of like J Lo again, Aaliyah, Beyonce type album.
Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, Douglas, do you have AirPods or something? Because I sense you are a little, like tick 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 tick. I hear you like tick tick tick.
Yeah, let me see if I can grab something. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, it's cutting a little bit the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that with headphones it will be better.
Yeah. Mal, I was thinking about the mystery that you mentioned because I was trying to remember when I discovered about this album. And I think for me, the first mystery was the name of the songs in the Stacie Orrico album because I started off my story and until I found you. And you can see the lyrics in some parts of the album. So I was like, what?
But they are not there. Yes, yes. For
Yes.
me, it was the same. Like,
And yeah,
what is happening? And I know in that moment we were kids, so for
yeah,
us it was not so easy to think about. Oh, this is maybe B
yeah,
sides, or this is
yeah,
maybe a bonus track or something like that. So yeah, I understand.
exactly. Then I
Yeah.
remember like 1 year later when I got my
All
computer,
right, can you guys
I
hear me?
wanted to listen, hey, to
Yeah,
to
I
the
can
album
hear
all
you.
the time. We can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay,
Just
perfect.
finishing
No
the
bouncing then.
story. Yeah. I was telling how I discovered this album in the past is because I wanted to listen to the album all the time. So to not use my CD all the time, I decided to download the tracks on my computer and I could be the one was different, like the version of Say
Yeah.
It Again. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what? And then I discovered the whole album, but I
Wow.
remember being very surprised about that.
Yeah, and
Actually,
then
this is another question. Sorry, Dallas, that I have about I could be the one because I could be the one was intended to be in the album, but at the end was not included. I don't know because it's not in the final cut.
Yeah, so I'll kind of go into like how the tracks were first set up, and then how I Could Be the
Yes.
One and Strong Enough came along, and then
Yes,
of
please.
course, yeah. So then, so kind of going back in regards to Bounce Back, all of a sudden it was pulled from the radio, and by pulled, the record label advised it be pulled, but because Stacie Orrico was so impactful on Christian radio, radio was just playing it anyways. So Bounce Back for us, we were listening that all the way through up until maybe fall of 2002. So it was still like a placeholder song, which I will say when we got the reworked version of it, I think us on the original side, if you will, were very happy that we got something new and fresh out of it. I know folks that only know the album version of Bounce Back from the 2000 release for the original version. So I know it's
Yes.
kind of a toss up. I think for us, we just we're happy that it was still saved but still elevated in a way. But
Hmm.
in regards to the tracks, so what happened is once everything was pulled, we were pretty much left into the dark. And it was like, okay, the album is not going to come out April 9th. In fact, it's going to come out in May. And what happened is that it kept being pushed out all the way up until June. And then from June, what we had were the 10 tracks. And I don't think that the label knew this, but when the album was supposed to drop out in April, the Stacie Orrico website had its own musical player, and the player had all 10 tracks. And initially, they were all snippets. So you got a taste, at least for the month
Mm.
before the album was released. When the album was supposed to come out in April, all of a sudden the tracks were in full. So all of the fans on staceyrico.com got to listen to the full album. And that
Yeah.
was there all the way up until June. So we knew what it would sound like off the bat. In fact,
Yes.
for me, before it was released on the website, there was a Christian bookstore that was quite famous. And around 2000, they started putting in the headphones where you can listen to the digital version. And to us, that was very high tech, I remember. And I remember scrolling through and just typing in Stacie Orrico because I wanted to listen to Genuine. I remember seeing Say It Again, and I remember so quickly clicking on it and seeing all 10 tracks fully loaded. And the first time I hit play, I heard Tight, and right when I heard I Dreamed, I immediately freaked out. I was like, oh my God, this is so urban sounding and exactly what I was placed my finger on what it would sound like. And so I just went through the whole album and I just remember being in that store freaking out like a little schoolgirl. And
Yeah.
mind you, I was 13 at the time. So you can imagine how giddy it would be. I remember, I think the standout one was for me, Until I Find You. I was going crazy for that. But when I hit Maybe I Won't Look Back and Stacy rapping on there, that kind of like blew us. But I'll definitely get to that. But for sure, yes, the full album was just 10 tracks. I think a lot of the time the promotional work says that wasn't mastered. It was definitely already mastered. I think they threw that in there once they knew that they were going to revise it. So once that month of May came along in June, what we were told is that the album was still going to be called Say It Again, that they were leaving the 10 tracks. However, she had signed a version and we wanted two more tracks as well. From there, they then released the Bounce Back enhanced single, and that's
Mhm.
where then they showed Strong Enough and I Could Be the One. So we had those little snippets. We knew those two at least were going to be added to the album, and we thought that was going to be it. We were expecting the album in July, so every month they said, "Oh, the album's going to come out."
Hmm.
Mhm.
Come
Yes.
September, they're like, "Just kidding. TBD. We don't know when it's going to come out. It's no longer going to be called Say It Again." I think a lot of us kind of knew, okay, this can go multiple routes, but we're excited. She's signed to a label, and the album's going to come out. I think a lot of us are still holding on to that. It was still going to be urban sounding. Um, and then towards the end of the year, right before I'm going to say Thanksgiving, before Stuck had dropped,
Okay.
and that it was going to be self-titled, but also the mystery that I think none of us know, that I don't even know, is that they were going to produce the song "Say It Again," but no one's ever heard of it. And as you guys know, that's also included
Well,
on the self-titled sleeve album with the
yeah.
original cast. That's also listed there. But yeah, none of us got to hear that song. Um, Trying to see what else we have here. Yeah, that was
So
the
so right now we don't know anything about the "Say It Again" song. It
no, we
was like another mystery of the
It's
album.
another
yeah,
urban legend, Mima.
it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, the urban legend. But yeah, I think once we got the new track listing for Say It Again, and I remember hearing it in full. So I had a cousin that worked within the Christian music industry and received uh, pre-musical content that was coming out. So I actually got the full Say It Again album, and then also the revised Stacie Orrico album. So I had both, but when I got to listen to it, I remember being so upset at how much the songs that were changed and reworked. Um, one of them being Security with the rap.
Yes.
You guys know
Without
that one?
yes.
Maybe
Yes.
I
With
won't
Matt.
look back.
Yeah, maybe I won't
Yeah.
look back. They completely I believe the intro they condensed. They removed the rap and kind of replaced it with the more jazzy sound that she
Mm-hmm.
does for
Mm-hmm.
it. And that one was probably my favorite track. I know that was also Stacey's debut track. To me, it sounded more Alicia Keys-ish at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good way in how that allowed her to showcase more of her soulful side. Again, having the rap listed into it. Honestly, for me, and I remember telling Mal the last time we chatted, hearing the rap, I was kind of iffy about it. I was like, okay, I know you're a Lauryn Hill fan, Stacey, but you're not exactly Lauryn Hill, if you
Yeah, I
will.
know.
So I thought it was cute though. And then Security with Matt Kearney. Well, I wish they would have left that because I believe a year later in 2004, Matt Kearney released his album and he had quite a bit of success on the
Yeah.
Christian realm. So I think that
Yes.
song would have been a great introduction for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just realized about 2 months ago, there's a portion in the song where Matt Kearney says, "There ain't no denying." And I came across a song from Nas called Uchiwali, and he also
Oh,
says there ain't no denying, exactly in the same tone. So I'm wondering if Mookie, the producer, might have sampled it and layered it in that song.
Oh.
So definitely
I
check that out.
I remember at that time I didn't know who was the rapper
Hmm.
in Security. So I remember I had a friend in that moment that was into the rap and stuff like that, and I was like, "Oh, do you know who is this rapper?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Nas." He was totally complete that it was
Mm.
Nas. So yes,
Probably from that moment.
for a long time I was convinced that was Nas in the
Hmm.
Security song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I definitely wish they would have kept that. And then, of course, Bounce Back was reworked. For me, I didn't mind that. I was very upset that Truth and Until I Find You were removed.
I
Until
know.
I Find You
Yes.
was my favorite track, and
My
just so
favorite
to hear
too.
that on my radio instead of a computer.
Yeah.
Isn't Hesitation a different intro on the Say It
Yeah,
Again?
so
Like,
yeah.
And longer. Yeah.
yeah.
The intro
Yeah.
for that was also changed, and then actually bounced back. There's two iterations. So the first one that would have been on the album of "Say It Again" was with her talking, and then
Mm-hmm.
going into the beat, and then the revised version being on the single release had her talking part removed, and then of course we have the third revision that was on the Stacie Orrico album as
Oh,
well.
I have a question about it. The version that you listened back in the day when you were talking about this story in the car that you were
Mhm.
listening to the radio, it was the part with the talking.
No, so that I guess that would have been the actual second version. That was a radio edit, so it was a lot
Okay.
shorter. They actually took out the full intro, so that full beat, and it was it. I think it immediately start with what's the start of the first line she says? I already forgetting.
Uh,
Yeah, and something
Wanna
like,
know?
I,
yes.
I know I'm really funny or something like that. She
The
says,
first singing line, her first singing line.
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that I wanna know
Yeah.
or something? No, that's
Yes.
genuine.
No.
Now he's blanking
I
my
can
mind.
remember. Yeah.
And then actually, I found out a year ago. I'm not sure if you
Why
guys
do
know.
you
You
spend all
spend
Here you
your
all
go.
your
Here we
time.
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
So the radio edit started with the "Why do," so it completely took out the very first part.
Mm.
That's what I
Okay.
remember.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
hmm
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And actually, I found out about maybe almost 2 years ago. There's a either Swedish or German artist that actually also used Bounce Back on their 2003 album, and it sounds very much like the 2002 Stacie Orrico version.
Okay.
It
Oh.
was I was trying to search up the name because I was listening to it literally 2 weeks ago and I completely lost it. So as soon as I find it, I will send it to you guys. But definitely sounds similar. The things that were
Oh,
changed, of course, is they definitely made it more mainstream sounding, so it's definitely more about a
Mm.
boy. And I believe like this, the first verse has changed, but I'll send that to you guys. I thought it was interesting.
we gotta
Okay.
listen.
Okay.
hmm
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Let's
Now we are
let's
curious about it.
I
Yeah.
was listening to That's What Love's About today,
hmm
and for me, the version in Say It Again is a little bit faster. Is it me
No, yeah,
or
you're
not?
right. I think what the changes, even the songs that didn't have like the most dramatic change, there was like some slight alteration. So I would fully agree in regards to That's What Love's About. Also, Star of My Story, the revised version that they released on the, I believe it was the More to Life single, one of the singles, as like
Hmm.
a B-side. They had
stop.
re-recorded her voice, so you can tell that she sounds a little bit older.
Hmm.
Okay.
And then they added almost like some spacey sounds layered into it. That's on
Hmm.
YouTube now, so I'm not sure if you guys caught that, but that one's slightly
Yeah,
different in terms of alterations as well.
Mm.
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
know that. Mm.
Do you have
Yeah.
any question about it, mi Marian?
No, 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 no. He's telling the whole story, right? So
Yes.
I'm just listening, so it's okay.
Yeah. I will say though that with the sophomore album, because she had so much success with Genuine, there was a lot of anticipation off the bat. So a lot of online magazines at the time were anticipating on these sounds. Were excited that she was going into more of a urban sounding. They often labeled it as her signature urban sound with smart pop sensibility, which I thought was a nice play on words. So I think they were ready to have their own version of that R&B starlet. Again, that wasn't available at the time. If anything, it was out of Eden, which was going to be more like the Destiny Child replacement, not replacement,
Yes.
but version, if
The
you will.
version. Yeah. The
hmm
Christian
Yeah.
version.
The
Yeah.
Christian
Yes.
version, yeah.
And
The
then
Yeah.
Christian
Stacy
version.
being
Yeah,
the encapsulation of all types of R&B and pop music.
yeah.
Um,
But at the same time, that was the answer that like most of the pop singers were
mhm.
saying on interviews. Like, I want to separate
Yeah.
myself from that pop music from
hmm
Britney Spears, and I want to do something more R&B and hip hop. Like, if you
Yeah. It
check
was the
like
era.
interviews, like Michaela, everyone
hmm
was talking that. So I know
hmm
it's genuine in Stacey's life. She loves
hmm
R&B, but at the same time, for me, it's so funny that everyone wanted to be so a part of that pop music that we
hmm
love so much.
Yeah, I think everyone just wanted to have more of either a grungier sound. If it wasn't R&B, they were going rock. They were just going left field. Everyone was transitioning out of that era. So I
Yeah.
completely understood that. And then 2002, at least for us here, like Missy Elliott came out with her, I believe, Work It
Yes.
song.
And get your
Mhm.
pecan. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was just a very, again, in the US, just heavily dominated by R&B and hip hop. Um, I will say too that with the tracks that were reworked, um, the one that ended up going on to another album was That's the Way God Planned It. That
Yeah.
ended up going on a soundtrack for TD Jakes, which was
Yes.
a very popular pastor here. And he had a soundtrack called The Leading Ladies of Gospel. And so she was
Mm.
able to have her album on there. Again, another song that had some slight alterations, I believe just updated vocals, but nothing too crazy. I wish that
Mhm.
was on Spotify so that we could listen to that version, but
Yes.
unfortunately that isn't there either. Did you guys have a favorite track or two on the album?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Actually, you are stealing my questions
Okay.
because this is another question that I want to ask. Yes, actually, until I find you, I remember this song was the first one that I heard back in the day from this
Mhm.
album, and I was totally convinced that it was like the intended single. Uh, After the time I knew that it was a bounce back, but for me it was like the perfect song for me to be a single. Like, and when we talked the other day, like 1 year ago, I think, or more, you say something like, "Oh, it's very Aaliyah. Try again." And I never thought about it, but when I listened again, I was like, "Oh yes, it's very Aaliyah's and Timbaland production. Like, it's very this
Mhm.
kind of vibe, including some pop elements. I don't know
Mhm.
to." I think they were trying to put Stacy like, of course you are like an R&B girl, but please stay in the pop because
Absolutely.
this is something that we need right now, like to have you in the pop market. So
Mhm.
maybe that's the reason because I think actually this is an question that I want to ask you, Dallas. About do you think was the Stacy's idea to rap like for example in maybe I Won't Look Back because she was so influenced by Lauryn Hill, or maybe it was like the production or the producers saying, "Oh, okay, you are like a Lauryn Hill fan, so maybe you can rap."
Yeah, actually, I did want to mention that as well. So for the Say It Again album, Stacey had more say in regards to like the production, how everything was set up. Hesitation again was her first track that she was able to produce. So that was amazing at 15 years old that she was able to produce a track like that. I believe with the rapping portion, I don't doubt that she probably threw that suggestion out there.
Okay.
I knew with the relationship she had with Mookie, they were almost like little sister, big brother. So I don't doubt that they were probably in the studio like, hey, let's play around with it and see what it sounds like, and it stuck. I think that though, when Virgin got a hold of it, they were probably like, yeah, let's take it out and have you sing on it instead.
Okay. Yes. What about you guys? What is your favorite song from the album?
Mine from those tracks that were just on that album, I think is Truth. Uh,
Yes.
is it's really good for me. Could be a single, but overall, probably maybe I won't look back, especially because
Mhm,
of the rap part and the
mhm.
intro is so beautiful, it's so different. I always imagine a music video for that track would be so cool. But I love
Yeah.
the almost the whole album. I don't like Star of My Story and That's the Way so much, to be honest.
Okay.
That's fair.
Especially That's the Way. For me, they should have been used Truth as besides in Stacie Orrico era,
Mhm.
not that one. Sounds for me kind of like a Christmas song. I don't know.
I can see
It's
that.
very gospel. It's very like
Yeah.
it's very gospel. I
It's
perceive
very
because
pop gospel, yeah.
Yeah.
yes, because the original one is by Billy Preston or something like that.
Yeah, it
Am
was
I
a
right,
sample
Dallas?
or cover.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a cover.
It's
Yeah,
a
it sounds
cover.
Like
kind of
Yes.
it sounds
silly.
like a follow up to "So Pray" from her debut album.
Mm.
Okay. Yes,
Gives me
yes,
that vibe.
yes. Yeah, you're right. What about you, mi Mariel?
Well, just like you, Bimao, the first song I heard from that album was "Until I Found You." So for me, that's my favorite, especially and I still get the goosebumps every time I hear that part. Every night when I close my eyes, I raise my voice to the sky. I always feel like I don't know. I love that part,
Mhm.
and I wish that song would have been included on the Stacie Orrico album
Yeah,
in,
it's
in
amazing.
instead
You
of
know,
"That's What Love's About." Thank you. Um,
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
well, I like it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I wonder if, because I know "Until I Find You" was released as a B-side. I believe was it the Japanese album or one of the
Hmm.
Asian albums. I wonder
Yes.
if that one has any alterations made to it. Have any of you gotten to listen to that version on
Uh,
any of
I
those?
I have the Japanese album, but I
You do?
never paying attention. I gotta listen
Mm.
to the two tracks to compare. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Yes, because
Uh,
yes, I'm not sure about it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe there's some difference. Yes,
yeah.
I gotta
I
check.
mean, like with Start My Story, I didn't hear the quote unquote newer version until about a year ago. And there were just
Hmm.
like the slight things that I was able to pick up because I already knew the older track already. So
yeah.
it might be the same thing with that as well. And then
Yeah.
Lucas, you did mention video. There were talks of a video that they were going to do with Christian music. It wasn't always the first single that had a video. It was usually one random song from an album to help promote it. So I believe the rumors at the time was it was either going to be Security or Tight. I thought either
Oh,
one of those would have been cool to have a video. I could already see it being very uh, either her having her own dance crew or just something attached to it, or it just being a very fun video. So that was
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
missed opportunity for us.
for sure.
yeah, yeah, for
Yes.
sure, for sure.
It,
Uh,
it's hard because for me, almost all the songs could be a single. Like
as
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
singles, yes, it's a very strong album, to be
very
honest.
strong.
Like, taking into account that it was a CCM album, I think it's very strong, and it's very different. I can perceive some similarities between, I don't know, Mariel perceived the same, or even because Mariel is a huge fan of Rachel Lampa, or even you, Dallas, that I can perceive the similarities between Kaleidoscope by Rachel Lampa and Said It Again by Stacie Orrico a lot.
Mm.
Like
So
some, go ahead, Frank.
yeah, no, I only know like maybe two tracks on Kaleidoscope, so I don't know like the full album. I would say uh, it would have been I think a close to at least the remix album because I that one
Okay.
I played a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Mm.
know that you are not a huge fan of Rachel Lampa, but you like this Blur album, the
I
remixes
love
album.
no, I love Rachel. I just she was more adultish for me at the time,
Okay.
where I
Yeah.
wanted to listen to more fun, upbeat things. I appreciate her now for sure. Um,
Okay.
which to kind of go on to that as well, I watched her revisited her Grammy, not Grammy, her Double Work performance from 2001, and just thought, wow, at that young of an age, the tone and the cadence that she had. I remember watching that on TV though and being like, okay, she's doing too much. But then going back as an
Yeah.
adult, I'm like, no, she did just enough. She did great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's an amazing vocalist, and she
Hmm.
was 15. It's incredible, but with
Right.
that huge voice, it's like, oh my God. I This is something that I always ask, but I want to know, like, it was like that, like Stacey Orrico and Rachel Lampa were like Britney and Christina in the CCM industry. I want to know about that. How was that in US?
Yeah, so I think they got the comparison because they were the two pop artists at the time. I think sound-wise, Stacy was more of the Christina sounding rather than a Britney, but she was marketed more as a Britney because she had that heightened popularity. And then
Yes.
Rachel being compared to Christina because she belted, but her music to me was just a little bit more adult, less poppy, if you will. But for sure, because it, again, two pop divas within the Christian realm. I think what also separated them in comparison is that they were best friends rather than rivals. So I think
Yeah.
that provided encouragement, especially to younger girls. And these two amazing singers that had a message were also best friends. And it's great to still see them today when we can, when they talk about each other or are able to sing with each other. I'm still hoping one day we get an official duet, but I'll take the love
I
songs that
know.
you guys got to see some time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I totally
I
agree.
Yes, we are wishing that so much, like a collaboration between. Actually, in the interview that Mariel asked in Mariel Talks Pop, Rachel, we were asking about like why when we're gonna have finally a collaboration between you and Stacie Orrico, and she was like, oh, "Okay, yes, this is something that we always talk about, but we never like had this chance in the past. But of course,
Mhm.
when whatever we have the opportunity, we'll do it. So, oh, it will be amazing for us, like the fans."
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, hopefully one day. Probably
Yes.
when they're old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
never
know.
know. Well,
Uh,
you guys, you were at the one
Reunited, Susan.
that one. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you were there, Dallas.
No, so I still wanted to be there, but at the time I just could not get off of work for traveling.
No.
Oh, what a
Oh,
shame.
So to this
Because
day,
that's where they could sing together. So,
I know.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
at least we have that performance. And
Mhm.
to answer your question now, I don't think Kaleidoscope is the equal to Say It Again. I'm gonna say
Okay.
Rachel's first album is more related
Mm.
to
Oh, okay.
Say It Again. I think Kaleidoscope it sounds a little bit more mature, a little bit.
Okay.
Mhm.
I get it. I
But
get
it
it.
did
I get it.
have her first single, which was like a huge pop departure, I think, from
Save Your
what
Song.
people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm
So
just
much. Yeah. Well, I
mhm.
have some questions for you.
Okay.
The first one, well, Dallas shared the story, but I want to know how did you know about the album in the past, Mariel? Because I think Lucas answered the question.
Yeah.
Well, I remember back then, we used to have this pirate music downloads like Ares or Image. There were like so
Gaza.
many.
Yeah.
Kazaya. And a friend recommended me to use Image. And so that's I began searching for Stacie Orrico. And I was checking the original track list from I don't remember a website of the Stacie Orrico album, and then I began seeing other songs that weren't from Genuine or Stacie Orrico, and I'm like, what are these songs? So I downloaded them, and then as I did my research, I heard that Say It Again was a shelved album, so that's why. And then I realized why are some of the songs in here and in here, and they sound different. That's how I began to know more about it.
Okay. How was for you, friend Luquitas?
For me,
It was like
I was telling this when Dallas
yes.
went off. For me, to be very clear, everything was a surprise. Even the fact that she was a CCM singer, because as most of people here in Latin America, I discovered her with Stuck on the radio.
Yeah.
So what was a magical time for me when I was waiting for my Stacie Rico album to arrive at home. And I went to supermarket and I found genuine album in the Christian session. So I was like, no way. So that's how I discovered at first, and then the name of the songs on the Stacie Rico album were like a mystery to me. I was like, what what are those songs that are not here in the track list? And then in 2004 I downloaded the songs because I wanted to listen to this album all the time, and I didn't want to use my CD all the time in computer, so I downloaded I Could Be the One, and it was different. Then I discovered the other tracks. That's how I discovered Say It Again.
Okay, there is something that I want to share with you that I created this like bootleg when I
Oh,
was like
okay.
13 or
Love
something.
it.
Yes,
Oh
I love
wow.
Yeah,
it.
but you have the
yes,
original now, so
yes. I have the
so
original
it's
now, but this was my first. Like
Oh
I was
good.
Oh,
trying. Yeah,
Mao, you could
yes.
be in jail now for doing that stuff.
I know. This is the original one that I finally have. That is it's like a gem. It's like a precious thing for me.
it is.
And you
Talking
paid a
about
good
this.
amount, right?
Sorry.
You paid a good amount for that one, right?
Yeah, a lot. And I was like expecting like the moment to have it because all the time that I was seeing the album online, it was so expensive, and I was like, oh my god, it's so expensive. But uh, the moment came and I
Yeah,
didn't miss. So
it's
the
once
next,
in a lifetime. Mao, before
yes.
you jump to the next question, let's say hi to the audience. We have
Oh,
comments.
please.
Hello, friends. Mariel, you want to read it?
Yes, we have uh Francesca. Hello, Francesca, all the way from Arkansas. Uh,
Angelina.
Angelina Townsend. I'm guessing it's a friend of Dallas.
Hi friend.
Uh, from Colombia, Mao's mom and
Oh,
brother.
yes. My family always
Yes.
supporting.
Adrian, who is a big CCM fan. Hello, Adrian. He says that he needs this album. Adrian, please come on. And Juan says Stacie Orrico is the topic. I need to revisit her discography because I haven't heard her debut. I'm gonna
now.
make this
Go now.
the
Please go
worst
now.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
Yeah.
Adrian says Rachel once said that she sounded like Christina on that performance, like the growls. Laugh out loud. Um, and Joaquin says Stacie is our godmother. Yes, she is.
She is.
Yes.
You're right.
Uh,
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
thank you to the audience for being there always. And this is something that I said in the beginning, but Stacie Rico is like the queen of this podcast, so we are having again this episode about her
Yeah.
because it seems that we never get enough talking about the Stacie.
No.
So,
No.
Stacie Orrico is the
uh,
queen. Michaela is the princess. That's it.
oh yes, I know that. Do you like Michaela Dallas?
I don't think I've heard Michaela, so I think that's someone that might need to venture into as well.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
okay.
Please listen.
Someone needs to check out my Instagram account
There we go.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of underground pop over there. You're gonna like it
Yes.
because I always recommend stuff that are, you know,
Yeah. And
similar
Michaela is
to-
really good. You're gonna
Yeah.
like.
Yes, I think you may like Michaela because it's like pop R&B, like yes,
Yeah.
Perfect.
very
I'm in-
2000, maybe very Y2K to be honest.
yes, I'm back into my Y2K era, so definitely checking her out.
Yes, please do it. The next question was, what about the songs? What do you think? Three songs that you think would be like the perfect singles for this album?
From this album, I would say, okay, I'm going to go back into the context of that era and what was being played on the radio and what probably would have got people running out to buy the album. I
Yeah.
think Bounce Back was like a good intro. I think what would have been a follow-up, which probably would have got people going crazy, would have been Tight. Or
Okay.
if Tight was like the intro to kick it off. Again, more of like a comeback song, if you will, especially with
Yeah.
her doing the breakdown at the end. So I think that would have been a good one. I then probably would have followed up with either Security with the rap, or maybe I
Yes.
Won't Look Back with the rap. So either of those would have been good. Honestly, back then, Christian radio, because there was so many formats, it was like CCM radio format. You had the more conservative, and then you had like pop, and then R&B, hip hop. When Genuine came out, she was played on every single radio station, but with different songs. So I feel
Yes.
like she could have gotten away with maybe 4 to 6 songs on each market. So at that point, it would have been probably Until I Find You, Maybe I Won't Look Back, Security. Gospel radio was a thing too, so they probably would have thrown in what's the one that we were talking about? That's the Way It Got Played.
That's the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she could have got away with a lot. And again, at that time, remixes were heavy. So that remixes probably would have been layered in as well.
Agree. Totally agree. What do you think, friends? Luki?
Three songs.
Yes.
I would have stick with Bounce Back as the first single because I think it was very a great choice. Second one would be Security. I love Matt, so for me, it's super cool that they had a song together, and I can imagine that as a second single. And the third would be Until I Found You,
Okay, perfect.
because I think it's a song
I
that
like this.
just in case Security wasn't that good on the radio, I think Until I Found You would save the album because it's such a great song.
Agree. What do you think, mi Mariel?
Following the steps of Genuine, like she
Yeah.
was still as a Christian singer, I think that the first option for me would have been Truth, because it's radio friendly and it has this genuine vibe, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So it's fun, it's pop, but it's still CCM.
Yeah.
And then I would have released Maybe I Won't Look Back with the
Of
rap.
course.
And finally Tight. I think it would have
Agree.
been a great intro for her new era for Stuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel it that way.
Agree.
I think when Stacie had her 20th year, one of you mentioned that it would have been great if they released this album, then
Yes,
unreleased the self-titled, which I
yes.
could have definitely done that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
because yes, because I always thought about like the releasing of the album, and I think okay, she was trying to make the crossover from Christian to mainstream, but it was so I don't know, it was like a great movement. Like okay, I'm going to release Say It Again, like in the Christian industry, and then I'm going to create a new whole project for the crossover, like not including the same songs, because for me and well, this is another question that I have, but for me, the production when you listen to some Stacie Orrico songs like that was included in the subtitle, you perceive like it's not so much 2003 because in 2003 the music was different, and even when the arrangements of the song, I perceive some songs like okay. Right now, as an adult, of course, back in the day when I was like 12 or 13, it was like perfect to me. But right now, when I listen carefully, I'm like, oh, okay, the production maybe it's weird in some songs, even when it's great because she was working with a huge label and everything. But yes, and for me, the three songs would be "Until I Found You." I always love this song. "Start of My Story." I think it's perfect for being a single and for the Christian radio. And the other can be "Security" because I love collaboration. So I think it's perfect. Like these kind of collaborations. That's my next question. Actually, I want to know your opinions about the production of Say It Again in comparison to the Stacie Orrico album. What do you think, Dallas?
Yeah, I think at the time, to me, it sounded refined. Of course, with some things, as we got into different reiterations, they sounded a little bit more crisper, or certain backbeats were highlighted more. I will say, for example, Security on the self-titled album sounded unfinished because of them taking out the rap in certain parts
Yeah,
where Stacey's like almost belting. They kind of immediately. I think after her La 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 verse, she tries to go for a higher um, range, immediately cuts off where rap was at as well, like an enunciation was kind of cut out. So certain things just kind of felt like they were rushed together in regards to reimagining them. And then I Could Be the One is kind of the same thing. At the end, you can kind of hear where it starts getting into the dance beat again. At the end, you hear for a brief second, I believe I could be the one, but it cuts off before it gets into that dance beat.
yeah,
So things like that where whoever was um, doing the mixing kind of did it lazily.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. What do you think, Mariel?
For me, they sound a little similar, so I don't hear like a lot of differences. But yeah, you can tell that Stacie Orrico had a better the album had better production than Say It Again. But for me, they do still sound pretty similar. Although I like the versions from Say It Again better than the ones from Stacie Orrico,
Okay,
the
okay.
ones that were before. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. What do you think, Luki?
I kind of like that this album is an unreleased thing because I love when we have some gems like that to talk about now. It would be totally different if it was officially released, the whole story. Maybe we never had Stuck or More to Life if this was released, and
mhm.
she if she did great with this album on the CCM universe. I don't think would have Stuck and More to Life than in the next year, for example. So I love the way things happen. In the terms of production, I agree with Dallas. Like Insecurity, I was thinking once about it. Maybe Matt was not supposed to be in this track at first because the way the raps starts is kind of, you know, you can
Mm.
feel that probably he recorded later. Maybe the track was finished and they added the rap. I don't know, but I think for me, Stacie Orrico album is like perfection. The only thing that sometimes I don't know how to choose is Bounce Back because the version in Say It Again for me is so good.
Mhm.
And so this track, maybe if that version was in the Stacie Orrico, would be the only thing that could make that album even better. But besides that, I think Stacie Orrico is better in production. And but I love we have those tracks to make this conversation and the comparison. It's really good. It's really fun.
Before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go
yeah.
on, Joaquin here is saying, Mao, a fun fact. Start of My Story was part of a soap opera in Germany.
Oh,
Oh, that's interesting.
yes,
Joaquin,
very interesting.
since Joaquin is here, Joaquin is from Germany. So, you Dallas was saying that a German singer uh,
Recorded
you
bounce back.
recorded Bounce
Recorded
Back.
bounce back.
Do you know who that is, Joaquin? Because you are the German expert.
I'm
Yes.
Let
also
us know.
quick.
Let us know.
Yes.
Okay, Mao.
Okay. Yes. No, that was all, friends. Thank you so much. I just wanted to have another conversation about the Stacie Rico. And this album, I think it's like, as I said at the beginning of the episode, like a mystery, and it's amazing to have the opportunity to talk about it. And thank you, Dallas, because you are an expert talking about the Stacie Rico. And there is something that I want to mention too. There is an account in TikTok that is of Dallas, that is Stacie O News, and there is another fake account. So how did you discover that Dallas?
Yeah,
Because you were the one that told me that about that.
and unfortunately, they're still running amok. So FYI, how I discovered it was by accident, actually. The post just mentioned that, hey, I have an announcement. I'm working on new music, and they just keep looping in the More to Life. I was like, well, we know as the actual Stacia stands, if you will, that she is content with life and she's not looking to return to music, especially not right now. She has a
Sadly, yeah.
Especially
so,
not on TikTok.
yeah. And so what I did is I remember calling them out. Hey, Stacie's not looking to do music. If anything, if she was going to announce this, she would show her face, and it would be done by either Instagram or Twitter. Usually, an announcement is probably going to be done by Instagram, if you will. They immediately deleted, but then I don't know how they started using AI for her voice, so that her voice releasing the album, and other posting conspiracy theories that she had connections to Diddy. So
Yes.
I anyone sees this on TikTok, it is not Stacie Orrico. I'll probably take a snippet of this and share it to my account as well. But yes, if you guys are interested, I have just created Stacie O News. This will be a reflection on everything Stacie. This is going to be favorite performances, tidbits, and knowledge that I am aware of, just so that folks that have been fans for forever have more information to go off of. But also, I'm realizing there's a lot of folks that are just discovering her through Stuck in More to Life, and there's a lot more to offer. So I want to make sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I want to ask Dallas before Mao. I'm sorry. I want to know your favorite songs from each album.
Oh my gosh, that is like asking
Yeah.
a child. Okay, so Genuine, Without Love. If I have to pick off one,
Oh,
It's mine too.
it's mine too.
and then I'm gonna go from Christmas Wish. It's got to be the jazzier sound, White Christmas.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Maybe I'll look back from Beautiful Awakening. It's always a toss up between Take Me Away, Isn't Me, or Wait. Those I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Love
Yep.
those choices.
Perfect. Love those choices. Yes, because they are my favorites too. I love Is It Me is my favorite actually.
I was so upset I
Yeah.
wasn't single, but I understood why.
I
Yeah.
still don't know a lot of things about that third album.
Yes, yes,
Anyway.
yes. Yes, yes. Actually, it's so funny because if you visit some videos, like two videos I saw about the Didi situation right now, and these were videos in Spanish from Latin America, from Mexico, actually. and in the comments, 2 or 3 comments talking like, "Oh, he was the responsible of the careers of Stacie Orrico, Jojo, and a lot of people never took off." So it's funny. It's funny because right now some people is mentioning Stacie Orrico again because of that, and
Right
it's
now,
funny.
he's
But
guilty for everything that went bad.
yes, yeah. So that was all, friends. Thank you so much. Thank you, the audience, for being there. Thank you so much, Dallas. You are amazing. You
Thank
have
you.
all the time amazing information to share about the Stacie Orrico, and it was a pleasure to have you.
Love you guys so much.
Thank you for being here, Dallas, and thank you, Lucas, Mao, and the audience for being here with us. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a big thumbs up, and we will be seeing you next time with more pop content. See you,
See
everybody.
you next time.